Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you guys are enjoying your lunch right now. We are doing an early behind the scenes. We're doing a lunchtime behind the scenes. So this is a show where we get to hear about people's projects. We get to hear about, we get to see their projects. We get to see how they run their numbers. And the most important part, to me at least, is we get to hear about all the different problems that come up in a project, which it's always nice to hear because, like, yes, a lot of us do make money, and we may or may not make money, but in majority, if you're running a business, you're making money. And sometimes to some people it looks easy, but it's not. There's always going to be problems in a project, and so we will be having our guest speakers come to show us their project. So let me see if they're here yet. Just give me a minute, guys. Nope, not yet. Okay. So while we wait for them to come, I want to let you guys know about my networking event. We will be having next month's networking event is going to be on knowing how to hire the right contractors, what you should look for, even things like when you're looking at a property, how to check a property specifically, obviously distressed homes, like what to look for, and just to assess the properties and also how to assess your contractors. Because I know for a lot of people, this can be a very big sore point. I know a lot of people have problems trying to find contractors. So if you're looking to learn and figure out how to hire the right contractors, or you're learning just even like how to analyze properties when you get on, just things to look for, then this is a networking event that you want to be at. And then after that, we also have our networking portion. So there you get to network. This is all virtual. We go into breakout rooms, 5-minute breakout rooms, and you get to meet different real estate investors. You get to meet, all the different people from different strategies. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can see our guest speakers here. So just give me a minute. I'm going to add them in. Okay. Hi. Hey, Caro.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. We're excited to hear about your project.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here again.
Awesome. So let's start with just let's let the viewers know a little bit about you. What's your experience like in the real estate world?
Yeah, so we basically started investing, I would say, about 2 years officially now. And we started really passively. We had one property, then we joined a coaching program and really blew up. So we're 24 units now and counting. And we also diversified a little bit. So this was one of our largest flips to date. So we're doing a little bit more of that now, as well as some Airbnbs and just outside of Canada investing as well.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So let's hear about, so this one's a flip. So let's see tell us what you've done to the project, what you've done in this flip, and anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really, really cool project because it actually came from our network. So this was on an off-market find. One of our investor friends that we had connected with in the past got this opportunity, and they're like, you know what, it's a great project, but it's a big one, and I just don't have time for it right now. So they sent it over to us, and it fit exactly what we were looking for at the time. So we decided to just go all hands on deck and just take it on, and it's been amazing. It's been a really great learning opportunity, great results, and kind of fun to do in this market, if you consider this fun, this market fun.
Do you want to like give us a walkthrough
Absolutely.
and just tell us
Let
what
me
you've done?
start you from the outside. So some of you may have not seen this property before, but this property actually was not an all-white break home. So I'll give you a little bit of a tour here. Um, so on the outside, we were adamant that we really wanted to do some break painting. Sorry, I'm just trying to really step back here. Really wanted to modernize the look. I've been obsessed with having all white brick home, inspired by Leclerc Decor. If you've seen their page, super big fan. We had to do all new windows, new garage door. So the garage door was actually an interesting find. So we got a guy that found it pretty affordable. And then we just painted it. I didn't know that you could paint vinyl, but apparently you can. So there are ways. We cleaned up the garden here a little bit, new steps. The front steps were kind of falling apart at the beginning, so we got new concrete steps here. Again, new windows. We went with black on the front. And then let me take you inside.
Yeah, I love the contrast of the black frames with the white brick. I love that contrast.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so here we are inside. So one thing that we really like to do in all of our projects is make sure that we have continuous flooring. I just believe that it makes the space look a lot more bright and open, and just a little bit bigger as well. So we went with a natural oak luxury vinyl actually here. Let me just turn the lights on. Over here we got it was a really small room. We turned it into more of like an open living or office space. Over here we got the dining room, so we got new light fixtures, new pot lights throughout as well. I guess I'll walk over this way as well. So really cool, just right beside a park. So even though the backyard is a little bit smaller, you basically have direct access to a backyard. To a park. This is one of the most exciting features.
Sorry, what city is this in?
Oh, this is in Hamilton. I should have said this earlier, sorry. Hamilton, East Mountain. So when we first bought the property, the kitchen was really, really small, even though it's like a 3,000 square foot home. So basically the kitchen was like where you see the fridge starting to where you see the sink over here. That was basically it. And then they had a really weird bulkhead, like right where the shelves are. Anyway, so we found a really good kitchen person that did a custom kitchen for us. They decided, the designer decided that we were going to go with an off-white look, and I quite frankly love it. Just a little tired of the plain white kitchens. So we also got a great contact from the break that gave us an amazing deal on all the appliances, like $1,000 off, which was super helpful for the budget. Also, for anybody that cares or wants to know, this fan is like a staple in all of our properties, and it's only like $200 at Costco, and it's 400 CMF. So CFM, sorry.
No.
Yeah, so it's super affordable and it looks pretty nice. Got these shelves made at a local carpentry. And again, we just try to add a little bit of design with a little bit of color in the backsplash. Took it all the way to the ceiling there. I'm spending a lot of time in this room because it's the most exciting one for me. So.
Well, it looks really nice too.
Thank you. So over here we expanded the kitchen by adding a little like wet bar area. So over here we have again the little bar area there, and then we added, I don't know if you can see, some olive green colors here for contracts for the kitchen, and some very fun IKEA lighting here as well. Again, new doors, new windows, and then cleaned up the deck a little bit there. Over here we have the other living room, and we just painted this this fireplace. Originally we wanted to do something a little fancier, but budgets.
Always have to stay conscious of the budget, right?
Exactly. So over here, this fireplace, originally we thought we were going to have to replace it, but after we got it serviced and painted, it was like a gold paint before. After we got it serviced, it actually looks really nice, so we just kept it. I'm going to turn it off
Mhm.
now. I had it on for effect. Okay.
And it's
So,
just to make a comment. I think it's always nice when you can reuse things and you don't realize like that sometimes a small little change can just make that big of an impact and it will look nice.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So over here, same thing. So there was a really like when you enter, there's a closet here. So we painted that and we put new handles on it. But there was another closet right here, and the designer had this great idea of let's just put in shelves and paint it black. And once you actually put flowers and decor there, it stands out super nicely. So love that. Okay. We didn't really change the layout or anything much in the house, just because the layout was pretty good as is. This is one of my favorite design pieces that the designer did. So the designer is Felicia Interiors, if anybody's curious. But we went with a full green bathroom here, really fun tile. Again, our local carpenter designed this shelf here, and then we bought this at Home Depot. And yeah, so we basically created our own freestanding vanity. I say we. The designer designed it, and then the contractors installed it. I just, yeah, I just cheer them
But it's
on.
your project, so it's still a we.
Exactly, yeah. And then again, Amazon lighting, pretty simple, but well put together here.
Hmm. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah. All right. So over here we have the laundry room. So not much we did here. Obviously, new appliances. We added a fawn rod. This is actually from Home Depot, just to give it a more of a design look. And then laminate countertops, as well as this is a standard. Like you can buy this already. Sorry, the sink as is. They didn't have a sink here before, so we just added that piece. Again, just to make it a little bit more functional. Um,
And how many rooms? What is this? This is a two-story, three-bedroom?
this is a two-story, four-bedroom upstairs plus two bedrooms in the basement.
Oh, okay, big. But it's
Yeah,
just a single family home, right? Or
it's
is
just a
it like
single
a
family home. Yeah, we did,
Mhm.
and I'll show you when we walk to the basement. We did add the functionalities to have a secondary kitchen and the ability for somebody to add a secondary door if they wanted to. But because of the size of the home, we figured this is more catered to single families, but somebody has the option to do it if they choose to. So a little bit of talk about the stairs. So I did not know this, but stairs are very expensive. We had never had to redo stairs at a house. And so we had to get creative as to how we added the sign without breaking the budget. So we just stained it and we painted the spindles white. Just for reference here, just the spindles alone without getting them painted was like $6,000 because it's a pretty big railing. And so, we had to cut the cost and add design in a different way here. So over there, we got a brand new lighting fixture, again, from Amazon. And I'm going to take you upstairs.
Awesome? Yeah, the stairs look great. And it's
Thank
funny,
you.
you don't think that stairs are expensive and railings are, but they can
No.
definitely eat at the budget. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like, maybe we're going to cut that out, figure it out.
Yeah. It's so funny because I had gone to Home Depot before and I'm like, oh, each spindle is like, so cheap. So I'll just buy all the spindles and add them back. And once you actually look at how the spindles are attached and you get really into it, it's like, it's not that simple. So anyways, lesson learned for us there was definitely around the stairs. Like if we cared to make that like a more of a wow factor, then we got to build that into the budget up front, as opposed to just thinking that we're going to be able to get it for cheap. So
Yeah, like an
it was
afterthought or
kind of,
something.
yeah, it definitely was like more secondary thought for us. And that's why we didn't give it too much of a priority. Our priority was definitely just the kitchen and the bathroom. So um, over
Well,
here,
it's good. At least it wasn't like you thought to do it and then, like the budget didn't show.
yeah,
Because it
no,
is. I can tell you for our Toronto project, our our railings were about like $20,000.
Oh my gosh, that is so crazy. Yeah, people definitely don't realize, including ourselves, just how expensive they were. Again, it wasn't a huge concern for us because we were okay even painting everything black.
Yeah.
So it was kind of second thought, but you know,
Yeah.
now we know.
Yeah. It
Thank
was
goodness
more
it
of a
wasn't.
nice to have. You were like, oh, it'd be nice to have this, and realize, but it's okay, we don't need it.
Exactly, exactly. So over here, we have one bedroom. Again, new windows. We skimmed the ceilings in the entire house except for the bedroom. So that was one of the things that we did to try to save a little bit of money. We had to do new roofing. The roofing was, what's it called? It was leaking here before, so we had to get a new skylight as well as new roofing. The previous owners just didn't take care of that. Over here, again, another bedroom, pretty good size. Obviously, we did painting, and then we did not skim the ceilings in the bedrooms because we find that it doesn't really add too much value. Again, that's more of a nice to
Exactly.
have.
Yeah.
Over here is another wow factor. So really love this one. The master ensuite bathroom is a little bit smaller, so we wanted to create more of a wow effect with this bathroom. So again, we got this vanity and the custom made, or like I guess designer sinks. Painted the walls black, and then we have over here one of the things that really excite me, like a really big splash zone. So there you go.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a nice way to
sorry.
incorporate.
I don't. My
That's
phone.
a nice way to incorporate the stand-up shower with the tub like in one area.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So this is definitely not something that I would say all flips require, especially in Hamilton. Like you don't need something this nice, but for our portfolio, we really wanted something that was a little bit more unique here, and so that's why we went with it.
Yeah.
It was also a
Well,
really
if it's in the budget too, then it doesn't
that's
really matter. As
exactly
long as it's in the budget and you can sell it for what you're expecting, it doesn't really matter.
that's exactly it, right? So, all right, over here we got one more bedroom.
Hmm.
Um, and then the master ensuite. So we got the walk-in closet here. Again, we just put in um, new shelving and rods, but people typically make these pretty unique to whatever their taste is. So we didn't bother doing too much there. And then this is more of a, again, budget bathroom. We try to add design with just the vanity itself. It's really just from Home Depot, but still.
Hmm.
And then over here we got the shower, standard Carrera style tile. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it looks really nice.
yeah.
So this is is it a 2.5 bathroom or probably like a 3.5? You probably have a bathroom
It's
in the
three and a
basement.
half. Yeah, so we added one in the basement. Let me take you there right now. Give me 1 second.
So how long did this project take for you? The renovation portion. What was the time frame?
So we closed on this project in November. Our contractor had some delays, so we didn't really get started in December. I would say from the time that we started working on it 100%, it took about 4 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm trying to see if I can turn
And
on.
were you guys expecting it to be 4 months, or were you expecting it shorter and then like some delays? Not, I mean, not including obviously the start delays because it's different, but I mean delays in the work itself.
Yeah, no. So we always budget for, even if we think something's going to take 4 months, we always budget for 6 months, just because we expect things to happen. We knew that there were going to be certain things that were going to take longer, like windows. Everybody knows right now windows are pretty scarce, and they
Mm-hmm.
take a really long time. So we ordered that from the get-go, even though the contractors weren't working on the project right away. And so yeah, that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
looks good.
So here's the other bathroom that you were asking about, Diana. Let me show you. Oh, I got this camera stabilizer, but it looks like I've lost stability on the stabilizer. So now the video is a
It's
lot more
not doing its
shaky.
job.
Yeah. So here we go. Again, pretty standard, but try to add a little bit of design with color and just fun lighting from Amazon. All
Yeah,
right.
looks amazing. Looks great.
Yeah, so this is where I was telling you, we added the bathroom and we added bedrooms so that if somebody wanted to make it into a separate unit by adding a door, they can do that.
So
Um,
was this an unfinished basement and you guys like actually added all the rooms and all the bathrooms? Like it was actually completely empty in the basement?
Part of it was. So basically, everything you're seeing right now, like that bathroom area and this bedroom, was all unfinished. And then this side of the basement was finished, but it wasn't really framed out. It was just like open. And yeah, like the walls and stuff were not really well taken care of. So we actually ended up replacing a lot of the drywall. Also, mid renovation, just for fun, a pipe burst, and so we had to
Oh
replace
no.
a lot of the drywall anyway. Fun stuff. It happens, right?
Fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you guys redid the stairs too, right? These stairs are redone
Yeah, so we
here?
redid the stairs to match the flooring, and actually really cool. Our flooring person was able to fold the vinyl and actually create steps. So if anybody knows vinyl and stairs, they don't necessarily mix. It's really hard to actually match it. So this was a really cool feature that we were able to add from the flooring person. So I'm very proud of it. Over here,
Yeah,
we
looks
added
great.
yeah. Over here, we added lighting, and I mentioned earlier we added the plumbing in case somebody wants to add a little kitchen here. And then over here, we had another bedroom as well. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you want to sit, if you want to find a place to sit, and we can run through the numbers. 'Cause I'm sure everyone's excited to hear, all the different numbers involved in this.
Yeah, I'm actually going to sit right here on the stairs. Okay, there you go. Uh,
Awesome. So you said it's on the mountain in Hamilton. So how much did you buy this property for?
Yeah, so we bought this property for 765,000, and originally when we bought it, we thought we were going to be able to sell for 1.2, and our renovation budget was around 175,000 plus tax, or really like 200,000. And then the renovations actually came in at 225,000 plus tax. Again, we had different things that we incorporated from a design perspective that we really wanted for our portfolio that pushed the budget up a little bit, as well as things like that are unexpected, such as the pipe bursting and things like that. So we always add contingencies in our numbers to allow us to have the flexibility and sleep at night, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, and
And what did you
then
say duration from end to end? So when you took possession to closing date, how long was that?
I would say to actually closing date, it's about 7.5 months.
Okay.
Um,
And so the holding costs were around how much for that?
ooh, I don't know off the top of my head, but
Or let's say once a month, and then we know to multiply it by seven.
yeah. So the mortgage itself is it's around $2,200 a month. Yeah. So it ends up being around eight
So it's
thousand.
probably like under 3,000, probably all in like monthly
Exactly, with
expenses.
utilities and insurance and all that stuff, right? So,
Mhm.
and then we actually were able to sell the property for 1.275, so almost 1.3. So we did better than expected. Not gonna lie though, at a certain point, because of the way the market went, we thought, oh my God, we're going to be able to hit 1.4, 1.5. So it's like we ended up doing better than we expected, but at a certain point, our expectation also went way up because of the way the market was going, right? And it's just one of those things that it feels like something was taken away from you, but it really wasn't. Like we ended up doing okay on the project, more than okay. We ended
Yeah.
up actually walking away with a profit of 250,000 before you consider tax and closing costs and stuff, right? So that's very healthy, right? Especially because,
Yeah.
as I mentioned earlier, I say we, but I'm not the one out here doing all the work, right? So to be able to walk away with profit like that in call it 6-7 months, it's kind of crazy, right? Like that's more than an entire household probably makes it in a year, right? So it's risky and it's scary, especially right now, but definitely worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like real estate in the general sense, like it can be stressful, but I mean you do a lot more projects at one time actively than I do, but even if you don't do as many projects, it's like not as much work as it would be as a full-time job, and you make more money from it. Like even if you think, for example, like this flip, right? Like this flip takes you, if it were just yours, 'cause I think you probably have partners with it, but if it were just yours, like it takes you, a whole, like you just got like a year's worth of income right there, and then you have other projects going on, right? So it's just like if you know what you're doing, it's like a very nice thing. Real estate's really nice. You just
Yeah.
as long as you know how to run the numbers and actually be conservative.
Exactly. That's exactly it, right? And you always have to have enough cushion out there so that when things go south, because they will in one way or another, right? Like in our case, for example, I keep mentioning the pipers. Also, renovation costs went way up in a matter of just the months that we were renovating. And in addition to that, as we were wrapping up, the market just took a plummet, right? So it's yeah, like you want to be able to sleep at night and know that you're going to be okay, right? And for us, we also try to make sure that whatever projects we're getting into, it's more than just about the numbers, right? Like if it's going to add a ton of stress, like if we have to deal with tenants, if we have to deal with the city for an entire year, I mean, the money might be great, but then I'm not really sleeping or being able to do anything else for an entire year. So is that really worth it, right?
Mhm.
And it might be for some, but not necessarily. Like we like to do multiple projects at a time. It's fun for us. We've built our team out that way. That can support us through that. And so if we were to only take one project that tied up all of our capital, all of our partners' funds and things like that, and we couldn't do anything else, regardless of where the numbers land, it might not be the best case scenario for us, right? Um,
Mhm.
Also, as people that use like JVs to scale, as well as like private money and stuff, it's very important that you show activity. And so if all you're doing is not posting anything for an entire year because you're dealing with the city, that can also hurt you in the long run, right? Because somebody's going to look at your profile and say, well, like all you did was one project, right? Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, you can do a lot of marketing and stuff to really milk that project if you really want to. But at the end of the day, like the more projects that you have that can pay you a reasonable return while you still sleep at night, actually in our case is preferable to one large project that just causes a lot of headaches.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And so with this project, so you said there was like a water leak. So what happened? Like how did that even happen?
It was just
Was it in
in
demoing?
winter. It was just Canadian winter. So there was a cold room that I guess, I don't know, it got too cold one day and the pipe in the cold room just burst. And
Mm.
so, yeah, we did not realize that it was that cold in there and it happened. Thank goodness that there was people here and then they could address it right away because if anyone has had a pipe burst, it just goes nonstop, right?
Yeah.
So
You may start getting a pool if you're not there.
100%, 100%.
And so you were saying other things. What kind of other problems did you encounter during the project?
So not necessarily problems, but challenges, right? So we mentioned there was things that just started coming in higher, right? Like the electrician, plumbers. Like we said, originally we're like, oh, it'd be nice to have these stairs or redo the spindles with like iron or glass. I don't know if anybody knows, but actually a really, really well-known glass railing manufacturer just went down under in the middle of our rentals, right? Thank goodness we weren't working with them, but those are the kind of things that you might face, right? Like you might decide to put a deposit on something like glass railing, and then the company goes under and you're like, oh shit, right?
Oh
um,
wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I'm
yeah, yeah.
surprised, to be honest. I feel like there's so much business for like houses and stuff, and you wouldn't think someone like that would go under.
Oh, absolutely, right? So, and that's where having systems in place comes in super handy, right? Like I not in this particular project, but I've had other projects where all of a sudden contractors are saying, "Oh, we need a 50% deposit or 75% deposit." I'm like, "For what?" No chance, right?
That's a
And
lot. Oh my God.
yeah, right. And I mean, if you know the contractor and there's a really good reason, like maybe it's a 10K project or something like that, fine, right? But if you're a new investor and you don't know what the protocol is, like that's a very dangerous scenario to be in, and so it's very likely that somebody can just walk away with your money, right? So,
I was gonna
uh,
say, if you hear numbers like that, 50 to 100%, some people have given 100% of it up front. It's crazy. Do not ever do that.
no, exactly.
No one, no legitimate renovation company will ever ask you for like 52 and yeah, 50 to 100%. Like that's insane. It doesn't make sense.
100%, right? So other challenges that we had, I mean, smaller ones and really stuff that sort of takes care of itself. But um, because we bought the project and we had it kind of December, we really wanted to get the roofing done because there was a lot of open spaces in upstairs, or sorry, yeah, like basically we just wanted to make sure that there was no more water coming into the house or no water coming into the house throughout the winter. So we're like, let's get it done. And we found somebody that did it. And unfortunately there was a windstorm like just a few weeks after. So a lot of shingles flew away. Apparently there was a problem with the shingles. And so obviously we had to get the roof redone. Obviously we have a really good relationship with our contractors. So they really stood by their warranty and they came back and they redid it. But those are the kind of headaches that you can basically almost guarantee yourself with any project, right? Like after something's taken care of, something else happens and something else happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Um,
value of the relationship, like you say, right? Because there's even some people that, let's say maybe because they have the warranty, they'll come back, but maybe they decide that they're going to take like 3, 4 months, and maybe that's not doable because it's a flip and you're maybe ending it or something, right? So it's also like you start understanding how important building relationships and finding those people that are worth like hanging on to, because like that they'll come back and get it done and make sure, like for example, they'll know, I'm sure you've told them like, well, this is a flip, so we have our time frames, right? And then they make sure to come back and just get it done.
yeah. But kindness, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, Diana. Kindness is so important, right? In this industry, like a lot of contractors choose to do that because they want to be self-employed. They don't want anybody to answer to. The minute you become their boss and you're on their ass all the time, they're not going to want to work with you again. And if somebody already decided in their mind that they don't want to work with you, they're not going to run to you the minute you have a warranty issue. They're not going to be there to support you if you need it. And it's so crucial. So I think beyond anything, you have to always think of that relationship. Like a perfect example is we finished a duplex conversion in Welland a few months back. And over the weekend, we had an issue with the HVAC. And basically, there was condensation that accumulated and then the drywall broke. And there was a huge leak, and the HVAC was not moved in the process of the conversions. The city inspected, everything was fine. So we have no idea, like, really what happened. But the first reaction is like, well, like, the contractor might have done something. Like that was our property manager's reaction. And we said, yeah, maybe. But like, who knows, right? Like you can't just go out there and rat them out, because realistically they didn't touch the HVAC, right? So when we reached out to them, that was exactly their reaction. They're like, listen, we cannot guarantee that it wasn't us, but we also didn't touch the HVAC. However, like, how do you want to proceed? And at that moment, I think it's important that people step back and say, okay, do I care about, not paying $500 to have this repaired? Or do I just want somebody to do it as soon as possible? And do I want this person to be there next time I call? And so I don't care to pay that kind of bill. I just care that they're there to support me in the long run. So I'm not going to, give them a hard time and try to get, 200, 300 bucks off the repair. Like, that's going to do us no service going forward, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like that, even with the building relationship, because it's like if they're trying to just take money that, they feel even themselves is maybe unjust that they're having to do it for free. Because like you said, they didn't even touch it and they probably think we probably didn't touch it, those resentment starts coming. So it's just like, yeah, when you find those really good ones, showing your appreciation is really goes a long way because at least nowadays it's hard to find good contractors.
Oh yeah, 100%, right? So I just I moved upstairs. It was a little dungy back there. So
No
how's
problem.
everything going with you, Diana? How are you navigating this market?
Good, good. Actually, curious on the question, I want you to say my opinion, because we're in the middle of looking for our next flip, and we have a couple potential ones, and I find it really funny because I think we spoke about this before. So it's like February, March timeframe, you saw that crazy up that just like didn't make any sense, and then now things have kind of stabilized to what like the normal increase, and you just hear in the news all the time that oh my God, price of houses are going down, this and that. And so a specific house I was analyzing actually, this one specifically in Oakville, is like I was struggling to find anything in in May, because, in April, like February, March, April, like that, the numbers are kind of like they're not good comparisons, right? So then I went to last year to check, and I looked at the numbers for last year, and the price of houses are still much higher this year than last year. So I'm curious, like that, because I know, because I'm assuming when you're talking about the price, like you were thinking to get 1.4, because probably thinking like that up that happened, right? But how did you like see the market when you were putting it on the market, and even like closing? Did you get nervous? Not closing, sorry. When you went firm, were you a little nervous with all this stuff that's going on in the news
Like on the buy or on the sale?
on the sell?
Yeah, not really, right? Like, I mean, even in terms of so we did get a firm offer. So it was a firm offer right away. It's always in the back of your mind, like, oh my gosh, like whoever bought the house has to sell theirs for them to move in. So it's like, what are they going to do? But also as a seasoned investor, we know that there's alternatives, right? Like there's bridge financing, there's a lot of private lending opportunities out there. So, if somebody can't close, it's not necessarily because, you don't necessarily have to go with an A lender right away. Like there's a lot of other options. And we tried to make sure that we got a large enough deposit that if for whatever reason the buyer walks away, then at least you have the deposit and you can just take your time and relist. Like I genuinely believe that the house is undervalued. I'm not complaining because like I said, we made a good amount of profit and stuff, but I genuinely believe that the house is undervalued. Like there's brand new Starbucks that are going up within 5 minutes from here, brand new Walmarts. So like this community, this area is growing, and it just so happens that the speculation of the buyers at the moment has them really afraid to pay those prices, right? Like a lot of people are wondering, can I afford a mortgage of 1.4 or 1.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've said that if the buyers were to walk away, I always think, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, if they walk away, I have $50,000 that I can use to hold the asset for a year or actually 2 years, and at that point, I can probably get a lot more than what they bought it for. So, I don't know. I always think about, what's plan B, C, and D. And whenever we get into a project, that's exactly what we do. We never get into a project that just has one exit strategy. Unless it's a passion project, like I said, right? So, and I'm seeing this a lot right now where a lot of people, for example, are buying cottages because they heard of the height of the Airbnb. But now there's a little bit of a saturation, right? And so I think it's going to stabilize regardless, because I think people are just crazy to get out of the country right now. And cottage country has always been hot for rentals and stuff like that, even before COVID. But anyways, point being, a lot of people jumped the gun and said, okay, well, I'm going to buy this house for Airbnb potential. And that was maybe their first investment. And unless it's something that, again, you're passionate about and you wanted a cottage for yourself, it's really risky, right? Because like, what's your plan B? Like, what are you going to do with a cottage in the middle of the Kawarthas if really this was your only investment? Like, it's just, right? So that's
Yeah,
why.
100% agree. That is exactly like it should be, like you said, a passion project, right? It's like, you want to live there, but I mean, if you can get some extra cash flow here and there, why not? Because if you definitely depend on, being able to Airbnb it all the time and pay it out, and then that doesn't work out, and like you said, and if you're stuck in a situation where it's like not a good situation for you, where you're just kind of bleeding money,
That's
you're
exactly
just
it. So again, I no, I don't want to knock on any seasoned investors that are doing this, because I think a lot of seasoned investors see the long-term vision there. And for a lot of seasoned investors, this is like, a fun project on the side and a cool spot to go hang out with their families and stuff, right? But
Yeah. Or they've just done their due diligence, right? They've actually like checked like how much, like they actually check, what is it, like what are the averages, what are the lows and highs? Like the experience with will exactly set it up as a business, right? And make sure that, they're taking advantage of the highs, but also saving that money for the lows, for example, or whatever their strategies are. I'm saying for those that don't do it as a business though, it's like that. It's just like lots of things that you see with very new investors where they make lots of mistakes because, like you said, they don't have their many exit strategies. They just kind of like hope for the best or something. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. And you see it in bidding wars, right? Like I've heard from so many realtor friends that just tell us like, yeah, like we got an offer like in the crazy like January to March timeframe. It's like we got an offer for 800, 900, 1.4. And I'm just like, again, somebody's forever home and they're just super, super passionate about it. It just, what are people thinking?
Right? Like in a business sense, you're just kind of, yeah, because it's funny. You hear people talk about numbers and you like run them and you're like, that doesn't work in any way. You're like,
Exactly.
and it's just kind of like you worry for them. And it's just like, for example, like that, like, because I mean, our business models is we need to continually keep on like progressing. And if that the only way that works is if you're making money, right? Whereas like a lot of, especially new investors, they get stuck because they have this money, they dump it, and then something happens, and then they're either losing money or holding it. Let's say there's a flip, and then they have to hold it and bleed money because they didn't like think things through. And it's just like, it's so important when you're running a business to treat it as a business and understand like what it is to make it run like a business. Because I mean, if you're in a deficit,
Yeah. And I mean, it's so funny because, like, again, some of these things just become second nature, but like something as simple as like you should have around 2% of your portfolio value in savings so that, you can save for a rainy day and you don't have to sell your properties right away as soon as there's like a need. Or like, you should always have at least 3 months of running expenses for all your properties so that, if a tenant doesn't pay for, a few weeks, you're not like, oh my gosh, in the red, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, that I think that when people don't have those kinds of systems, it makes them make rash decisions. And it's harder to see the big picture when you don't allow yourself to be able to step back and take a breather before you make a decision, right? So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. Or like you said, you're like that, like you're selling a property that you really didn't want to, maybe selling at a loss because you didn't have those contingencies, B, C, D, plans to at least help you out to figure out if you can't sell it, for example.
100%, right? I always tell like our coaching students, like, listen, there's a lot of attractive opportunities that you're going to hear people advertise out there. Just because it makes sense for them doesn't mean that it makes sense for you. Their situation might be completely different. Like, you might need to borrow capital to do this. They might actually have so much capital sitting on the sidelines that this is just what made sense for them for that reason, right? And I always tell them, like, also remember, like, it takes so long for you to do something properly with the right systems. So if you're thinking, for example, going from long-term rentals to full-on land development, I mean, there's a huge gap to bridge there. And I'm not saying that it's not worth it. I'm not saying that, the numbers don't necessarily make sense, but like, really think, does it make sense for you? Like, don't just go to a strategy because somebody else has been really successful in it. Maybe they have tools in their toolbox that have allowed them to be very successful, right? Sometimes they're family run businesses or whatever it may be. So when you're thinking of getting into real estate, think about, does this make sense for me based on my current situation? How is this going to affect me 6 months down the line? What is my plans B, C, D, right? There's so many considerations other than how much money is this project going to make me, that I think a lot of people overlook when they're choosing a strategy or deciding to switch strategies as well.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's just, or I feel like people go into like the whole FOMO thing, you know? They
Yeah.
see other people doing it, and then they're just either getting into the bidding wars, or it's just like that self-control becomes so important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny. You will see people that, for example, like I've seen some people where they've done so many deals, a lot more than me, and then, but I'm making more money than them. And sometimes I'm just like, don't get so excited about like every single deal. You know, it's like, make sure you're not, like you said, putting yourself in a really weird situation that is just going to do something that you like, that you really didn't want to do.
100%. That's exactly it, right? I don't
Mhm.
challenge people, be so busy and so focused on your strategy that you don't even have time to listen to what other people are doing, right? And if you're struggling,
Mhm.
find help, find something that is, aligned with your strategy and what you're doing, and seek guidance from them so that, you can try to avoid distractions. I'm not saying like put blinders on. I think it's always great to have education about what other people are doing, but I don't know. It's important
Like
that
the self-control, like controlling yourself not to just get too into it. Like, because it is true, you want to see what everyone's doing. 'Cause even just, I feel like as motivation, like sometimes it's nice, like, oh, they're doing that. Like if you're in a downer and you're like, I want to like get back onto what I'm doing. Or you have like a stressful situation going on in a project, and sometimes like, hey girl, like what's going on? Like I need a little advice, I need a little pep talk or something, like I just like things are going wrong and I need someone to talk to or whatever, right?
yeah, exactly.
So it's definitely always good. It's just that self-control of like
I,
don't do it like you said, don't do everything and anything, because that just puts you in a very bad situation.
so I gotta admit, it's easier said than done, because I mean, who here has not necessarily gotten attracted to stuff that other people are doing? It's just, how
Yeah.
they're so defined and your agenda so defined with what you're trying to achieve that even if you wanted to switch strategies, you're like, where do I even find the time to, right? Um,
hmm
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Or, I mean, like you said, it happens to everyone. I remember with me, it was funny with this whole like March, February time frame where price of houses were going crazy. And I just couldn't find a deal because like that because we were looking for our next flip for a while. But I stopped for a while because I was kind of like getting sucked into like, I'm just going to put in an offer. Like I was just getting so frustrated. Like I'm just going to put in an offer. And then afterwards I was like, I need to just get out of this, give myself a break from looking at flips because I was just getting so frustrated with the numbers and nothing working out that it was like, at least for me, I was just like, I had to stop for a bit because I was just like, I'm going to drive myself crazy because it's like you're wanting to get a flip, but you're not finding it, especially if it doesn't meet like what your criteria is. Like I couldn't find anything meeting my criteria, and I was seeing myself doing like what if I just tweak this or what if I tweak that? And then I was like, all of a sudden you see myself going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, no, 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 no. And I was just like, you know what? Let's take a break because I'm going to start changing my criterias and then it's probably like going to turn into a bad thing.
Exactly, right? And it's one of those things where, you might, I feel like not even just right now, but like the entire journey, it's so funny because you put in an offer and you're like, oh my God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. And like, then you get it and you're like, okay, wait, was I the biggest winner or the biggest loser here? Because then you start saying immediately, like, there has not been a deal that we went into that we did not second guess ourselves, right? And if you,
Oh,
like you said, end up bending the rules a little bit to get that deal, I can just imagine how much more that feeling would be intensified, right? It's like, oh shit,
yeah.
like I do what I want to do here. And like, you gotta remember, you're gonna get stuck with that for at least 6 months, or I mean, depends on the type of project, but on average, like between closing, like when you buy a property and like you actually close and all that stuff, it's really 6 months. So do you want that weighing on your mind for 6 months too, right?
Mhm.
So 100.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all investors go through this, right? Like exactly you said, like we actually get it and then we're just like, oh my God, what did we do?
Exactly.
Like this is actually a
I,
good deal. Like you start second guessing everything, right? You're just like, this is probably the worst deal. Like I probably didn't look at this. Something is gonna pop up. Like you think of like the worst scenario still. Like it still happens to us, right?
yeah, it's so funny, but yeah, it happened. You know what though? I genuinely believe also that it's been hard to find stuff because I think a lot of sellers are still stuck on the January to March numbers, and that's just not where things are. And it happened to
Yeah.
us. Like we're like, because a lot of people were listing and then delisting and relisting higher, right? So when we got the offer, again, it was higher than what we originally walked into the project expecting, but it was lower than what we expected based on what happened January through March, right? So we're like,
Mhm.
you know what? We should wait and just relist. And I mean, thank goodness we didn't because the market went further down after that, right? So we're really
Mhm.
didn't do that. But even in that moment, we're like, we know we could get more. Like, why are we like settling when we know we have a great product and yada yada? But like, at the end of the day, we're like, listen, we got a lot of people through the house. And if that was the hires that we got, then that's fair market value right now. Like, forget about what, you could have gotten in January to March. You almost have to block that out of your mind because
Yeah.
we're not there anymore. And quite frankly, I don't think we're going to be there until like a year or two from now. Um,
I agree.
so
Yeah, those are crazy numbers. So like I don't know what happened. It's like people went crazy for 2 months.
that's it, right? So I think, for whoever is in that situation, like I would say if you're making profit, just walk away happy with that profit.
Mhm.
Unless you want to hold on to an asset for 2 years, that would probably be my recommendation. And if
Mhm.
you're making the decision to hold on to that asset for 2 years until you get the value that maybe you could have gotten in January, ask yourself, what are you holding back yourself from doing outside of that, right? Like we talked about earlier, it's not just about making money. It's like, if you're not doing anything else because all your money's tied up in a project that you did 2 years ago, then you're also losing credibility of your brand and you're losing your audience. You're losing potential lenders that want to work with you because of the kind of projects and stuff that you do. And you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to learn and to just get other things under your belt. So again,
Or even just missing great opportunities, right? Because like your money gets tied up on a super bad deal, and then you just see all these amazing opportunities passing by, and you're like, well, my money's stuck in this house because I made a bad, real estate decision.
100%. And you know what? One of our realtor friends, I love her. She's actually the one that sold this house, so Christina Waisley. And she told us, listen, yes, it messes with your mind. I excuse myself from swearing here. My husband would be so proud. Sorry, I love. Yeah, so sorry. She said, listen, yes, you're getting less from what you could have gotten in January to March, but at the same time, you're also getting back into the market when the prices are lower. So you're not really losing, right? You would be losing if you sold and the market, like you sold for lower and the market was still going way up, but everything is coming down. So your borrowing power has not changed. So you also need to think about it, I guess, from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. So last final words you have for this, for anyone doing a flip, new or intermediate, what is like one or two tips that you would like to give to the viewers on a flip?
On a flip, always have contingencies. And definitely, like I said, specifically, I'm speaking to this market because I think you can give a lot of general tips on flips in general. But specifically on this market, like I said, if you are prepared to hold on to your asset for 2 years, because I don't think we're going to get to back to the values that we had in January to March until about 2 years from now. If you're ready to hold on to that asset for that long, then okay, that's fine. But if you have the opportunity to sell at a profit, I would just say sell at a profit right now and reinvest that into other high return assets. Again, your borrowing power has not changed, and you're actually risking just being stale because you're holding on to something. In hopes that you're going to get back what you could have gotten in January. So I would say stay the course. And if you are going to get into a flip, make sure that you have, like I said, contingencies, but also a plan A, B, C, D. If for example, right now, when we're looking at flips, we're making sure that whatever flips we get, we can still hold on to the mortgage if it doesn't sell. For
Mhm.
without sacrificing other aspects of our business. So that's definitely another consideration that we do there. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Totally agree. That's the same with us. Like the flips we're looking at are basically investor flips. So like exactly you're saying, right? Like if we have to stay with it, then you can tenant it off and you know it's going to, like support itself. So great point.
Yeah. I want to make sure that everybody knows that in no way do I think that this market is like a crash and that this is the, end all. But I just think,
Yeah, it's just more caution, right? Especially because of the last 2 years have been so crazy that a lot of people have made a lot of mistakes, but may not have noticed or seen their mistakes because they still came out winning. And this year is the time to, I feel it'll be the testament on who the real investors are, not real investors, but I said like the ones that actually know how to invest properly as a business, I would say, to the ones that do it, let's say, as a hobby. Like I think we'll start really seeing those differences. And that being said, I mean, I know that there will be even experienced investors that like mistakes will happen because like that, like who expected this crazy high to go up and then drop back to what it was, like that's nothing foreseen. So, I mean, experienced investors there will be some that will obviously, have problems going through, but usually the ones that get stuck and can't move anymore, those who I feel like are like the hobby investors, whereas like the experienced ones, like yes, they'll go through the ups and downs, but you'll see they'll still continue because they can, like you said, have their plans A to Z.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I guess last thought here, and my husband always tells me this whenever I have second doubts on anything. He's like, listen, at the end of the day, there's winning and there's lessons. Just because a project doesn't end up being exactly what you hope for, doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot have a successful project going forward. That does not mean that. So if you have good foundations, if you have a good team that has helped you through up till now, just because of whatever's happening in the market, don't let that dictate, oh, I can't be successful in real estate. No, you can. You just made a bad investment decision, perhaps, right? Or the market just hit you the wrong way. And now you know how to prepare yourself going forward. So I would say don't let that hurt your confidence either. And just think about ways that you can avoid the same situation from happening again. You can make a mistake
Yeah.
once, don't make it twice. So
Exactly. And the ones that are mistakes like that, like I was saying before, right? There's a lot of people that have made mistakes, and I'm curious if they've learned from them because they still came out winning. Like, I think the mistakes that will happen here, people will feel them. And to be honest, I feel like we all remember those ones that we feel, and it's like those will never happen again.
100%.
Thanks so much for coming on. It was so much to chat with you and get to see
Always,
your flip.
Diana.
Awesome, Caro. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, everyone. We'll see everyone in the next episode. And of course, I can never exit for some reason, guys.